Here's something I want you to notice about every traffic stop you've ever had. There's the official part: license, registration, insurance, the ticket, the reason, and then there's all the other stuff. The bit before he reaches you, the long wait while he's back in the cruiser, the small talk, the question aimed at your passenger rather than you. The friendly thing he says as he hands your documents back and you're already reaching for the ignition. And almost every driver in this country treats that second category as filler. The padding around the real business. It isn't. It's the opposite. Because everything in that second category has one thing in common. It has been carefully arranged to feel like it isn't the legal part. And that feeling is precisely what makes people hand over things they were never obliged to give. 7 of them tonight. And I've deliberately left out the obvious ones you've already heard about 100 times. These are the quiet ones, the ones that don't look like anything at all. A safety question that isn't about safety. A courtesy that's a trade. A wait that's a technique. A question aimed at somebody who has no duty to answer it. And a goodbye that isn't a goodbye. So tonight I'll take them one at a time and give you one sentence at the end that covers all 7 without making you sound like a difficult man. And stay with me right to the finish, because number 7 is the big one. It's the single most dangerous moment in any Canadian traffic stop, and here's what makes it so effective. It's the moment he tells you that you're free to leave. That's not the end of the stop. For a great many people, that is where the entire stop was always heading, and their guard is completely down when it arrives. That's the part nobody warns you about, and that's the part you actually need. Now, this is not an anti-police video, and I won't have it turned into one. None of these 7 are dirty tricks. They're interviewing technique. They're taught, and they're taught because they work. They work because you're a decent person who behaves well around authority, which is a good quality and not one I'd want you to lose. I just want you to know when it's being used. I'm Brian Doyle. For 15 years, I worked inside the criminal courts in this country. The interview rooms, the cells, the prep meetings the night before trial. And nearly everything I ever read in a file came out of the parts of the encounter that the person thought didn't count. This is legal education, not legal advice, and I'm not your lawyer. The charter and the criminal code are federal. Document rules are provincial and vary. For your own situation, talk to a lawyer where you live. 10 seconds on what you actually owe, because it makes all 7 obvious. Driving, you must produce your license, your registration or permit, and your proof of insurance, and you must give your name and address as the driver. Every province requires it. That's the list. Hold it in your head and watch how far outside it we're about to travel. Trick 1. The safety question that isn't about safety. Before I take these back to the car, is there anything in here I should know about? Anything sharp? Anything that's going to poke me? Look at how that's built. It's phrased as a question about his physical well-being, which means declining it feels like you're happy for a stranger to cut his hand on something. Nobody wants to be that person, so people answer, and they answer thoroughly. But listen to what's actually being asked. It isn't, is there a needle in the door pocket? It's, tell me what's in your car. That's an evidence question wearing a hard hat. And you are not obliged to inventory your own vehicle for anybody. Not the glove box, not the trunk, not the bag on the back seat. There's nothing that'll hurt you, officer. Complete answer. Nothing given away. And it's true, which is the whole point of phrasing it that way. Trick 2, the wait. He takes your documents and goes back to the cruiser. And he's gone. 4 minutes, 8, 12, and nothing appears to be happening. Some of that is genuinely the computer being slow, but not all of it is, and here's what a long wait does to a person. You sit there, you watch the mirror, you start rehearsing, you get through the plausible reasons and out the other side into the unlikely ones, and by the time he comes back, you have been marinating in your own imagination for a quarter of an hour, and you are ready to talk. People will say things after a 12-minute wait that they'd never have said in the first 90 seconds. That's not an accident, and it's a technique as old as policing. 2 things to do with that. Sit still and don't rehearse. And know that in this country, a stop is supposed to stay tied to the reason he pulled you over. Our courts look hard at detentions that drift well past their purpose. So the length is not nothing, but the place that argument gets made is later, with a lawyer, not through a window on a shoulder. Trick 3. The document shuffle. He hands your documents back, and then casually, you got any other ID on you? Health card? Anything with your address on it? Or the softer version? Is this address current? You owe your license, your registration, and your insurance. That's it. A health card is not on that list and has nothing to do with driving. Neither is a work badge, a credit card, or anything else in that wallet. And this one works because the wallet is already open. You've just been through it once, quite cooperatively, and going through it again feels like the same act. It isn't. The first was a legal requirement, the second is a request. That's everything I've got for you, officer. Trick 4. The trade. This is the one I feel most strongly about because it takes advantage of good faith. Look, I'll be straight with you. If you're honest with me right now, I can probably make this go away. But I can't help you if you're not straight with me. And people take that deal constantly because it sounds like the reasonable adult resolution to an awkward evening. Here's what's wrong with it, and it's structural. He does not decide what you're charged with. That is not his call. A Crown attorney makes that decision weeks later, looking at a file. Whatever he tells you at a roadside about making things go away, he cannot bind anybody, and no promise he makes is enforceable by you. So you'd be handing over a real admission, permanent, on camera, usable, in exchange for something that isn't a thing. And there's a second layer to it. In this country, there's a long-standing rule about statements obtained by inducement, offers of leniency in exchange for talking. It exists precisely because that kind of trade is known to produce unreliable admissions, including from innocent people who just want the evening to end. So the very offer that feels like a favor is the sort of thing lawyers argue about afterwards. You don't take the trade, you don't argue about it either. I'd rather not get into it, thanks. Trick 5. The split. 2 officers, one at your window, one drifting round to the passenger side, and the questions get asked twice, sometimes in a different order, sometimes in slightly different words, sometimes minutes apart, and then the 2 accounts get compared. Now the 2 of you have done nothing wrong, so this should be fine, shouldn't it? It should. It very often isn't, because you and your wife did not agree on what time you left, because you never had to. She thinks you were at the restaurant an hour. You'd have said 40 minutes. You call it your cousin's place. She calls it Danny's. Neither of you is lying, and both of you sound like it in a report, where it becomes accounts were inconsistent. You cannot fix this at the roadside. You cannot lean over and coach anybody, and trying would look exactly as bad as you imagine. The only place this gets fixed is in your own driveway, long before, in a 2-minute conversation with the people who ride in your car. Nobody has to answer where we've been. Not you, not them. It's not on anybody's list. Trick 6. And who's this? Aimed at your passenger, usually while looking at you. And here's the thing almost nobody knows. Absent a specific power aimed at them personally, a passenger in this country generally has no duty to identify themselves at all. The obligation to produce documents and give a name falls on the driver, because driving is the licensed activity. The person in the seat beside you isn't driving. But watch what actually happens. The officer asks you, and you answer for them. That's my nephew Danny. Out of pure reflex, because a question was asked and somebody had to fill the gap. And you've just identified a person who was under no obligation to be identified, and you did it without them being asked and without them agreeing. The move is simple. You don't answer for other people. Let the silence sit. If he wants your passenger's name, he can ask your passenger, and your passenger can decide. And tell them beforehand, because a passenger caught cold will hand over a name and a birth date in 2 seconds flat. Now, everything I cover here, plus the doorstep, the breath demand, the search, and what happens in the hours after any of it goes sideways, I've put into one short plain English guide for Canada. It's called the Know Your Rights Handbook. No hard sell. If this has been useful, the link's in the description whenever you want it. Right, the sentence. And it's built to cover all 7, including the part of the stop most people don't think of as the stop. I'd rather not answer questions, officer, and that goes for the whole stop. Am I free to go? That middle clause is doing the work, and that goes for the whole stop, because it covers the wait, the small talk, the second time he comes back, the question about the health card, the offer of a deal, and the friendly thing said as your documents come back. You've declined once, for all of it, in advance, and you never have to do it again. Which matters because declining the 5th time feels much harder than declining the 1st. And am I free to go is the pivot. If you're free, you can go. If you're not, he has to be able to say why. Here's how it sounds. Anything in here I should know about? Anything that'll poke me? Nothing that'll hurt you, officer. 11 minutes in the cruiser, he comes back. You got any other ID on you? That's everything I've got for you. Listen, if you're straight with me here, I can probably help you out. I'd rather not get into it, thanks. And who's this? Nothing. You let it sit. He can ask your passenger if he wants to. Now, number 7, and I've saved it because it undoes everything if you get it wrong. All right, you're free to go. And your whole body relaxes. The muscles in your shoulders drop, your hand goes to the ignition, and for the first time in 15 minutes, you feel like a normal person again rather than a suspect. And then, half a step away, turning back, oh, one more thing. Mind if I ask, is there anything in the vehicle before you head off? Or, you don't have anything in there you shouldn't, do you? Or the simplest and best of the lot. Do you mind if I have a quick look before you go? This is the most productive 30 seconds in policing anywhere in the world, and it works on 3 levels at once. Relief is the first one. You just got let go. You are flooded with the good feeling of an ordeal ending, and in that state, people will agree to almost anything to keep it ending. Gratitude is the second. He let you off. Now he's asking you for one small thing. Saying no feels like taking back a gift. And the third is the technical one, and it's the reason this exists at all. He has just told you that you're free to leave, which means on the face of it that whatever happens next is a voluntary conversation you chose to have with a man you were free to walk away from. Anything you agree to now, you agreed to as a free person. That's a much harder thing to argue about afterwards than a search during a detention. Now, our law is not blind to this. Our courts have recognized that people can be detained psychologically without anybody laying a hand on them and without the word being used, where a reasonable person in that position wouldn't feel free to simply drive off. So, you're free to go doesn't automatically make everything that follows voluntary in law, but do not rely on that at the roadside. Rely on it in a courtroom if you ever need to. At the roadside, rely on this instead. When you are told you are free to go, go. Not rudely, not with a speech. You say, "Thank you, officer," you put it in gear, and you leave. If he asks another question as you're reaching for the ignition, the answer is the same one you gave an hour ago in the same warm voice. "I'd rather not, thanks. Am I free to go?" And then you go. The relief is real, and you've earned it. Just have it in your own driveway, not on the shoulder of a road with a man still standing at your window. So let's bring it home. The dangerous parts of a traffic stop in this country are the parts that don't feel like the stop. The safety question is an evidence question. The long wait is a pressure technique. The second ask for ID is a request, not a requirement. The offer of a deal comes from a man who doesn't decide charges. The 2 officers are comparing your account with your passengers. Your passenger owes nobody a name, and your free to go is not the end of anything until you have actually gone. "I'd rather not answer questions, officer, and that goes for the whole stop. Am I free to go?" Say it once. Let it cover everything. And when he tells you you're free, be free. Drive away. If this helped you, have a look at the pinned comment where I've put that sentence in all 7. And send it to whoever normally rides in your car, because 2 of these 7 aren't aimed at the driver at all, and the person in your passenger seat has never once thought about any of it. Subscribe, because every week I take one more of these apart in plain English. I'm Brian Doyle. When he says you're free to go, go. I'll see you in the next